Oh, so today we'll be reading Financial Literacy for All by John Hope Bryant. And we're going to start where we left off at yesterday, page 22. I'm going to start at. Even the time I got in trouble for shoplifting was a positive experience. It was a couple of white men who caught me stealing candy at what was then Thrifty Drugstore in Compton. And by the way, this was definitely a learned habit that came from whoever I was hanging around at the time. Kids are not born to steal. The white men who had been watching me from a room above the store had the security guy bring me upstairs and close the door. They proceeded to tell me that I could go to jail and about how bad that experience would be. They scared me completely, straight from ever wanting to steal anything ever again. They never touched me, but they made sure I got the message that stealing was serious and wrong. And then they let me go home. No harm, no foul. They were protecting their store, no doubt, but they also took the time and energy to protect me from myself. I never forgot that moment or them. And so when I was in my late teens and got harassed by police officers who happened to be white, I was able to separate their bad behavior from their whiteness. They didn't represent all white people to me. I learned that white and that they were good people who were black and good people who were white, and that the opposite was also true. The real color I was interested in, especially after my financial literacy experience, was the color green, the color of U.S. currency. In that home economics classroom, at the age of 9, that white banker taught me the language of money, and I was an eager student. How to get rich legally. After a few weekly sessions, I gathered up the nerve to ask the banker a question that had been burning a hole in me from the day he walked into the classroom, dressed like a business success story from head to toe. Sir, what do you do for a living? And how did you get rich? Legally. I was dead serious. Without much hesitation or fanfare, he replied crisply, Young man, I'm a banker and a finance entrepreneur. Well, sir, I don't know what an entrepreneur is, but if you're financing them and it's legal, then I'm going to be one. That was my earnest response. And that's what literally who and what I am today, entrepreneur. As my confidence grew, so did my role modeling discipline. I wanted to dress just like that banker did. So I went home and asked my mother for a suit. She made it clear that she didn't have the extra money to purchase me a new suit, but I was welcome to wear the one suit I had, a crushed velvet three-piece job with a ruffled shirt and a big bow tie. This was a suit my mom had made for me to wear to church every Sunday, and so I wore that to elementary school in Compton, and yes, I got beat up, nearly knew what I wanted to be, and I needed to look the part. I found my door, my passion in life, and soon my purpose. I was instantly focused on the road ahead for me, which for the first time I can now clearly see. As I have recounted in detail in prior books of mine, at 10, I started a successful candy house business through simple competition and hard work. I put the local liquor store out of the candy store business, and in just a few weeks, the owner of that local liquor store could have partnered with me, but he wouldn't listen to a kid. so I put them out of business instead. I experienced my first real life financial literacy lesson with a little free enterprise and responsible capitalism sprinkled in, and I was hooked. But there was something else, even more powerful, hiding in plain sight in that home economics classroom during those financial education lessons with the banker. It was tied to what my lifelong calling world would become. My next question for the banker was, so how many bankers are there like you in the country? He told me that there were about 10,000 banks in America at the time. So there must have been more than 1 million bankers. I was absolutely stunned. So you mean to tell me that there are a million bankers or something just like you all across the country working at banks whose mission is to lend guys like me with dreams and money? And all we had to do was prove that we could qualify for the loan, that none of us would get shot, jacked, or worse, dead. All we had to do was to pay back the money or admit we couldn't and work out a repayment plan. Once again, his simple answer was yes. Well, I didn't know it then, but not only had I found my calling as an entrepreneur, I'd also figured out what I was going to be doing for countless thousands of dollars for the rest of my life, and our skill, teach them the language of money, how free enterprise and responsible capitalism work, and give them a chance, an opportunity for all. Thank y'all for tuning in. This was the Financial Literacy for All by John O'Brien. We're gonna stop at page 25. So today or tomorrow, that's where we're gonna start at. Enjoy your Monday. The best is here. Make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, all that. We global.